قامت يداه ويقول للكافرين يا ليتني كنت ترابا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلوات وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. Condolences to everyone on the occasions that we are commemorating, coming very close to the Arba'een of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where we all know that our hearts are in Karbala, and we do really wish that we would have been there now with everyone else, walking towards the holy shrine of Karbala. Something that we also know is it is the largest human gathering on earth, which has zero media coverage. And is that not a shock and a surprise for you? Why would it be that over 30 million people all flocking to one place and no mentioning of it whatsoever in Western media? You've got a bunch of people in certain countries throwing tomatoes at each other in some celebration in some country. You've got other events where they wet each other or they throw colored paint at each other, and every single media outlet is speaking about it and saying how, accomplished these people are in poking at a bull and getting the bull to run down the roads and things like that. But then you have this large gathering that has zero government involvement, that is completely 100% human Muslim Shi'i effort and funding as well, but yet there's no mentioning whatsoever of it. Hajj season, when people go for their Hajj pilgrimage, it's a government funded event. It is government organized, and yet you still see a lot of dramas every year when it comes to Hajj. And what's the maximum participation in Hajj? Not more than 7 million at most before COVID. Whereas where you can see Karbala and Iraq, all these people coming from all walks of life, living very difficultly as well in these couple of days, sleeping on the roads, in the mokibs, in streets. And look at all the food. They don't have to pay $1 for one meal during their ziyarah. And the reason why there is zero coverage is because of fear of showing a positive image of Islam. The fear of encouraging people or promoting Jibla Kursi Hada Khatiya Mudarram. People, that was a bad word to use, by the way. The people, of course, having some kind of sympathy in wanting to see the shrine of Karbala, and then coming across to hear about the message of Imam Hussein, and then it's going to be chaotic. Why? Because as we know, Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. Even though it's the most misunderstood religion in the world, it's also the fastest growing religion in the world as well. And that's not going to assist in the agenda, in the plan of global world control by superpowers. And that's why there's no mentioning of Karbala or of the Arba'in of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's not what I want to talk about tonight, but it's very important for us to be alert and aware, and also somehow spread the message of Imam Hussein to others, because Imam Hussein has a lot to teach. In our society today, I was listening to the radio a few days ago, BBC Radio, and it said that here in Australia, from what I remember, over $30 million of prescription medication is spent on depression pills here in Australia per month. I spoke about this a while ago, didn't I, when I was speaking about the number of people who suffer from mental health related issues and the level of difficulty that a lot of people have in issues that are to do with their mental health, anxiety and stress and depression and PTSD and all of these other problems, which unfortunately are really, really difficult. I'm going to throw that box of Pringles in the rubbish bin. So put that away, please. Or chew silently. No, he's going to get angry. Leave it. Don't worry. Hey, where are the lollies? Where are your lollies? Okay. Where were you last week? You didn't come last week. You didn't come last week. Why not? Your brother? Your brother's evil? Yeah, he's evil. Evil brother. And we also know about a lot of challenges that people are facing. And it really is a crisis. Alaykum salam. Unfortunately, someone decided to join us today. And it's very, very sad as well. And we shouldn't take that lightly, because if we don't cater to our spirit and our soul for a long period of time, it starts to get tarnished. It starts to become polluted. It starts to get affected. And our heart starts to die down. And we have feelings that we're not taking care of. And we, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, could resort to things that will just numb us. Remember when we spoke about alcohol? I think it was 2 weeks ago. And we said one of the biggest problems in today's society is people turning to alcohol thinking that that's going to solve all of their problems. But it's just going to make you forget for a few hours. Yes, it's going to make you violent. Yes, it's going to do all these really, really ugly things that alcohol does to people. But at the same time, when someone sobers up, or when someone goes into relapse by wanting to avoid these prescription medication, they come to realize that the problem that they had is still there. And so therefore, we as human beings are all in need of some kind of plan and schedule to take care of our spirits, of our soul. If you become so accustomed to take away food, to fast foods, right? And who's seen that documentary by Michael? What's his name? Michael Moore? What's his name? Double Size? What's it called? No. The one that made that documentary on Columbine. What's it called? All right, anyway, look it up, Ibrahim. It's all about McDonald's and saying, if you pay another extra, Supersize me? Are you sure? Or are you just guessing? Yeah. Morgan Freeman. It's a documentary all about how McDonald's is able to get people addicted to fast food. And say if you pay extra 50 cents, you're able to upsize your drink and your burger and your French fries and your chips. And then people become addicted to takeaway and fast food. And then lo and behold, you have an obese nation, right? You go to certain countries around the world, you won't see a fat person. You're not allowed to say fat anymore, right? Oversized person. And that's all because of neglecting one's physical side. What's it called? Oh, thank you. I said double size me or something like that. Okay. It's a nice documentary. Watch it and watch Columbine as well. It's about the school shootings and how American society has an obsession with guns. Anyway, the point here is if you don't take care of your body, you're going to have a lot of health problems. If you don't take care of your soul, you're also going to have a lot of health problems. Mental health problems, not physical health problems. Alaykum salam, Sayyidina Bifarmait. Physical health and mental health, alaykum salam, ahlan sahlan. Physical health and mental health is really, really important. And they work hand in hand. We have to make sure that a good soul is going to assist a good spirit, and a good body, and a good body is going to assist a good spirit, a good soul. And Islam encourages both of them. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, me sitting down in the masjid for an hour, a short period of time is way better for me. I love that more than being in heaven. Because in heaven, it is pleasing me. But sitting in a mosque, it is pleasing my Lord. And I would prefer to please my Lord over pleasing myself. And look at us and the society that we live in here in the West, where we don't have opportunities or places or locations or events that regular enough to remind us of God. If you were in, for example, Qom or Mashhad or Karbala or Najaf, whether you like it or not, your eyes are going to fall on the holy dome and shrine of one of your imams. And that itself is going to be a wake-up call for you. That, it's been a few days that I haven't gone and done ziyarah. Let me go so I can rejuvenate myself, so I can recharge my spiritual battery, so I can remember my direction that I need to have as a practicing Muslim. And that's why it's really, really important for us to look into the importance of ziyarah and why we need to make sure that we have a good plan in our lives, in our yearly routine, to during the year, or at most once every 2 years, for us to go off and do ziyarah. And of course, even though it does cost money, even though you might not have a stable income, but if you have that niyyah and intention in your heart, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will most definitely facilitate for that. Because showing your devotion and your love to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, it is going to, of course, grant you that opportunity of you going there in person and visiting. We know that ziyarah is a highly recommended act, and we know that you are able to do ziyarah or visit the holy shrines or the imams either in person or also from a distance as well. And we don't usually use the word pilgrimage as well. We've kind of like restricted the word pilgrimage to Hajj. So, we say pilgrimage, Hajj pilgrimage. But in reality, being a pilgrim is someone who is not a tourist. A tourist wants to go somewhere so they are able to, experience the scenery of a new country. They want to enjoy some relaxation time and drink in a cup that has one of those small umbrellas and just relax. They don't have any spiritual objective or goal. They're not doing it out of moral or religious principle. And tourism is a very good thing as well. Traveling around the world is highly encouraged in Islam, as you know. قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, journey in the earth. Go around. See and experience. Does the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam not say, اطلبوا العلم ولو في الصين? Seek knowledge even if you have to travel to China. And the reason why it said walau fasin is you shouldn't have any restrictions or limitations as far as wanting to gain experience, because traveling really does give you experience. It really does mature yourself, and it's a very, very good way of learning life skills as well and becoming more independent. Alhamdulillah, we've seen that in our camp trips, haven't we? Where we're journeying, we're traveling, we're picking up on life skills and things like that. But tourism for us, as good as it is different to ziyarah. With ziyarah, we are going as a pilgrim wanting to experience something more than just the journey, and that is spiritual experience, and that is to revive our hearts, and that is to show that commitment and devotion that we have to our religion and to our imams. And by the way, not only Muslims believe in pilgrimage, Jews believe in pilgrimage, Christians believe in pilgrimage. Unfortunately, a lot of Christians don't practice pilgrimage, right? They a lot of Christians don't really think about going to the birthplace of Jesus alayhi salam, right? In, where was he born? Nazareth? Who said Nazareth? Who said Nazareth? Did you say Bethlehem, Nisar? What's it called in Arabic? Yeah, who said that? Oh, mashallah alaik. So why is he called Jesus of Nazareth if he was born in Bethlehem? Someone answer their phone. There's a lot of nice places to visit for Muslims, for Jews, for Christians. Even Buddhists go to, for example, Tibetan Buddhists go to Nepal and to Tibet and places like that, right? Even Christians go to Portugal and visit Fatima. Have you heard of Fatima? Portugal. Have you heard of Portugal, Hussein? Portugal, not Portugal. Portugal or Portugal? Portugal. Portugal, yeah. And they visit Lady Fatima. Has anyone heard of the story of Lady Fatima? Good. Look that up as well. You'll be shocked and surprised how many people, Christians, go and visit this saint that they believe her name was Lady Fatima. And so it's something that everyone somehow wants to do. What's going on outside, Ali? Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. Hello. What's wrong? Nothing. All right, sit down. Okay, I'll sit down. Thank you. لعد انت شنو شغلك? What are you doing لعد انت standing there? غير سوي شغلك and don't let people run out and what's Nisar doing هذا? Okay. So Ziyarah is very, very important. And Ziyarah is all about reviving your heart. And we all need that. We all need that. Inna al-quluba latarin. Our hearts become tarnished. Our heart becomes blemished. Our heart becomes rusted. And there's a way of polishing it. There's a way of removing it. Qira'atul Quran is one way. Reciting the Holy Quran is one way. Ziyarah is also another way. And look at yourself. You who are devoted to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and you who pray on a turba that is made from the soil of Karbala, and you using that at least 34 sajdas a day, the minimum. The minimum. Because how many wajib rak'ahs do we have per day? 17. 17 times 2 equals 34. Because in each rak'ah, how many sajdas do we have? 2. That's one way of you looking at Imam Hussein and remembering Imam Hussein. Drinking water and remembering the thirst of Imam Hussein in Karbala. Also another way of showing your devotion. But there's nothing better than being there in person, in the proximity of this holy man who sacrificed his life for the sake of Islam. And what are you doing? You are pledging your allegiance, you are renewing your allegiance to the Imam, which is why we want to embark on this spiritual journey. We also know that when it comes to ziyarah, it's about our identity as well. That we as Shia Muslims, it's integrated within our identity. Who else does ziyarah other than Shia Muslims? Who has that strong emphasis on ziyarah outside of A'immatu Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam? And that's why the everlasting message of Ahlul Bayt is always going to be there. And that's why those who perpetrated the most sinister, the most evil of things in early Islam, from Bani Umayyah, the likes of Muawiyah and Yazid, no one even knows where their graves are. And if someone does know where their grave is, they wouldn't dare tell anyone else. If you've been to Sham, right, if you've been to Damascus, everyone wants to know where Muawiyah's grave is. Not so they can go and salim and say salam, so they can go and they can do some cursing, or probably something else I'm not going to mention. And that's why even the locals, yani, you can ask about it yourself. Even the locals, right, who supposedly know where the grave of Muawiyah is, refuse to tell anyone. I've got this in my Ziyarah vlog. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, shame on you. In the Ziyarah vlog of Sham and Damascus, right behind Al-Masjid Al-Amawi, right behind Al-Masjid Al-Amawi, there's a very, very small mosque by the name, and it has a grave of someone by the name of Muawiyah As-Saghir, or Muawiyah Al-Thani. He was the son of Yazid. And when Yazid died under the most dreadful of ways, Muawiyah, the Khilafah was given to Muawiyah Al-Thani, Muawiyah the second, but he abdicated. He gave away the Khilafah. He said, no way I'm going to be the Khalifa of the Muslims, because the rightful owner of leadership of Islam are the Imams and not these low-life people. That's what abdicated means. Yani he relinquished his authority or his power as the Khalifa. And the interesting thing is, between brackets, it says Muawiyah as As-Saghir, and then between brackets, to avoid Shia extremists like me and you going and spitting there, it says Muhib li Ahlul Bayt, a lover of Ahlul Bayt, and he really was. When we talk about the message of Karbala and the message of Ashura and the message of Imam Hussein and the teachings and message of Ahlul Bayt, we are able to embody that when we go and when we visit these holy places. And ultimately, we are going to benefit from all of this as well. And if you haven't experienced ziyarah, you are really missing out on a lot. And if you have experienced ziyarah, you can confidently say, even though you might not be able to verbally express it, that I feel something when I'm sitting in the shrine of Imam Ali, of Imam Hussein, of Imam Al-Ridha, of Sayyidah Al-Ma'suma. I can't explain it in words. I feel serenity, I feel peace, I feel harmony. I feel so much at ease, even though I'm not doing anything. And that's really the greatest of benefit. And that itself would be more enough of a reason as to why you need to start saving up and going for ziyarah. Of course, if you haven't been to Ziyarah before, I wouldn't encourage you to go during the Arba'in season because it's chaotic. And you might not even get an opportunity to go very, very close. So maybe in a second trip or a third trip, go during the Arba'in season. And you will be shocked and surprised. And everyone is taking care of everyone else. In 99% of the time, it is absolutely secure and safe. Yani even people who usually outside of that season might be doing pickpocketing and stealing and things. It happens, unfortunately, it happens. They don't do it in this season because people are just so busy with wanting to serve Imam Hussein in any way possible. And that's a beautiful culture, isn't it? And that's something that we need to pick up on as well. And that's why in the ahadith it says that every dirham, any dirham, dollar, we can say that you spend in going to Imam Hussein, you will get 1,000 in return. Which means that God will give barakah and blessings to your income and your money when you devote yourself to your religion. And it's all about principles and values as well. And do you know how many people, just by seeing that rush of visitors to the shrine converted to Islam? Because they say, we can't see that anywhere else, that passion, that unconditional love that people are showing. It must come from some truth. And of course, there are a lot of these kind of nice cases. One story is of a European professor who was buried in the way to Karbala, and she said that I want to be buried in the same path in where the mashayikh, those who walk to Imam Hussein, be buried. And apparently she wasn't even Muslim, or she did convert towards the end of her life. I'm not really sure about that. You can look it up as well. Many, many, many of these beautiful, really, really uplifting stories. Another thing is how we are able to change our direction in life when we reconnect with Ahlul Bayt. That we adjust our behavior. A big issue that we have in a lot of cases is sometimes we don't have good conduct, or we don't have good behavior, or we muck around too much in school, or we are disobedient and don't listen to our parents, or we are not taking life serious, or we are troublemakers in the classroom and things like that. When you remember your religion, Islam, and when you remember the purpose on why you are living on this earth, then you will start to take yourself serious, and you'll start to take your life more serious as well. And Ziyarah also does that. Ziyarah makes you rethink the direction that you have in life. And if you do have certain bad habits, you adjust it to the good. Because you stand there in the presence of Imam Hussein and you feel ashamed that you are sinning, that you are doing wrong, that you feel guilty that you are holding the title of being a Shi'i, a Muslim, a follower of Imam Hussein, but yet your conduct is something completely conflicting and different. And that shame that you have is also another way of how you trigger and ignite the inner potential you have to change from bad to good, to make those adjustments as well. Of course, we also know that ziyarah is a good way in establishing your aqidah and your faith. If you're going to be doing ziyarah the proper way, recognizing the imam, doing a little bit of homework and reading before you arrive in the place that you're going to visit, you're educating yourself about the biography and history and life of the imams. And that means that's also going to strengthen your faith and your religion. That's also another good thing, isn't it? And that's how it should be. Unfortunately, some people go blind and come back blind as well. They go blind and all they do is take selfies and post things on social media, and they have no understanding of what it is that they are doing. Some people are like that. And it's for them, it's just a trend. And I'm sure you've probably come across people who just came back from Hajj, probably worse than how they went before. With ziyarah, unfortunately, for some it's the same thing. Why? Because they're not doing it in the right, correct way. And that is an ma'rifah, recognizing, with recognition of who it is that you are visiting. That's very, very important. It's very similar to prayer, that some people pray and they get no benefit whatsoever from their prayer. Why? Because their focus is not on the prayer itself. Their focus is on, I just want to get my mum, my dad off my back. Because they keep on saying, Salli, Salli, pray, 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 pray. Why haven't you prayed yet? Quickly go and pray, right? They just want to get that off their back, right? So they can carry on with their roadblocks or Minecraft or Netflix, or what do you people do these days, Safdari? Soccer? You play, aren't you a bit too young to play Fortnite? Got to have talk to some parents here. Isn't Fortnite like rated 15 plus? Are you 12? You're 7. MashaAllah alaik. MashaAllah alaik. And so, if we don't have that connection with God and we're not doing the right thing, we're not really going to benefit. So, one way of strengthening your faith is by going to ziyarah and visiting, but doing so with recognition, with ma'rifah. And that means that you need to do a little bit of homework and reading and things like that. Another benefit for ziyarah is to show the strength of Shi'ism, to show the presence of Shia Muslims. And that's also very, very important as well, where you go and you see all these other people from different nationalities and different backgrounds and different languages, and there's one commonality that you all share, and that is that you are a follower of Ahlul Bayt, and so are they. And that you can expand in your networking of friends, getting to know people from other parts of the world, and sharing the challenges that they have as well. And also showing the enemy of Islam and the enemy of Shi'ism that we are strong. And look what used to happen a few years ago when Daesh and ISIS and Al-Qaeda and things like that, they would prepare themselves for Muharram and Safar so they can start with their onslaught and attacking. A few years ago, there was a case of food poisoning where they put poison in food and they were giving it to the Zuwar. A few years ago, there were cases of cars driving into these hundreds of people and blowing themselves up. A few years ago, there were cases of people ambushing the Zuwar, standing or hiding in between hills and mountains, and then just ragbar, shooting everyone who were walking there. And none of that stopped the Zuwar. None of that. Bil'aks, it's rather the opposite. It became more and more and more. It didn't stop anyone. And that also shows that level of strength that the followers of Ahlul Bayt have, that we do not fear death, that we will continue on in showing our loyalty and commitment to Ahlul Bayt, even if we are threatened with death. It's also a very good thing, isn't it? And so, when it comes to the beauty of Ziyarah and how our religion encourages us, our Shia faith especially, encourages us to do Ziyarah, it doesn't come to no surprise the amount of reward that one gets when they do Ziyarah. Let me read some hadiths so we can see that number of the amount of Ziyarah that we are, of course, promised to achieve if, of course, we were to go down this path, insha'Allah. Again, the last point that I made was showing Shia strength, political Shia strength, theological Shia strength, and that we are contributing to keeping the message of our Imams alive. Just imagine that Ziyarah wasn't there, and people will very, very quickly lose and forget the message of Ahlul Bayt and the message of the Imams. And again, that's really, really important. Ziyarah, of course, is all about changing that lifestyle that we need to have and adopting an Islamic lifestyle and implementing the teachings of our Imams. So much so that when you are going through that homework and reading and feeling a little bit guilty about you not practicing what your Imams teach you, upon your return back to your homeland, you're going to be a different person. You're going to feel stronger. You're going to feel more empowered. You're also going to have a stronger spirit as well, which is really, really important. Someone said, I asked Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, what will someone who visits Imam Hussein achieve? Ma liman zara qabr al-Hussein. What is someone going to get if they were to visit the grave of Imam Hussein? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Kana kaman zara Allah fi arshih. It is like as if they had visited God in the throne. Of course, we believe that throne is a symbol, right? It's a metaphor. We don't believe that God has a physical throne, right? But that's another topic altogether. Kana is like as if they have visited God in his throne. Then the person, Zaid Al Shaham, asks, Ma liman zara ahadun minkum. And then, what about if we were to visit one of you? Yani not Imam Hussein, but the other Imams. And he says in return, it is like as if he or she has visited Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. This is another hadith from Imam Al Sadiq alayhi salam, where he says that when it comes to the zuwar and the visitors of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and those who visit any of them, and of course shed tears while they are visiting Imam Hussein, the Imam Sadiq says that the other Imams, that he will ask forgiveness for this person, and وَيَسْأَلْ آبَاءَهُ, and will ask his forefathers, yani the other Imams, أَن يَسْتَغْفِرُوا لَهُ. And then the Imam says, لَوْ يَعْلَمُ زَائِرِي مَا أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُ. If my visitor, yani someone who's doing ziyarah, knows what God has prepared for this person, what awaits this person, لَكَانَ فَرَحُهُ أَكْثَرُ مِنْ جَزْعِهِ. Their happiness would be more than any type of grief. More than any type of grief. And that's why, for those of you who saw that post that I sent out, I think this week, on what's so special about Ziyaratul Arba'in, read it if you haven't read it, where it speaks about every step that you take towards Karbala and Imam Hussein, and what reward it amounts to and what it equals to as far as the thawab and the rewards. Finally, in our ziyarah that we recite, and as I said this in the beginning, that ziyarah can be done in person and ziyarah can also be done from a distance. You all know how recommended it is for you to do ziyarah even on a daily basis, Ziyarat Ashura especially Ziyarat Ashura. Every opportunity, any opportunity that you have, especially when you wake up early in the morning, is either recite the ziyarah, which is the best, or listen to the ziyarah, which is also good, or just when you finish your salah, when you finish your prayer, you say Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn, etc., etc. That is also considered as a ziyarah as well from a distance. So don't belittle and undermine the value of ziyarah from a distance. It's very important. At least, the least, once a week on Thursday night, you should be reciting ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And any other imam, when it's their commemoration or when it's their birthday celebration, recite the ziyarah of that imam as well. In Ziyaratul Imam Hussein, as we all know, it says in Ziyarat Ashura, Allahumma ja'al mahyaya mahya Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa mamati mamata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, make my life the life of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and allow me to die the death that will that will please Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in. And ultimately that's what we want to achieve. When you're saving up, when you're serving, when you are devoting yourself, when you are remembering that you represent Islam and you represent Shia Islam at school, at work, in your life, at home, when you have that devotion, when you want to cleanse your soul and your spirit and your heart, when you want to make sure that you make those adjustments, when you want to live a positive life, you might not be that religious, for example. Alhamdulillah, everyone here is, but whoever's listening, whoever goes through certain phases, but at least you have a minimum requirement of a human being, and that is to take care of yourself. And by connecting with Ahlul Bayt and by connecting with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you will most definitely be able to accomplish that. And we really need that in today's life. Look at how fast-paced our life is. Everyone's busy, but sometimes you just have to stop and take care of yourself before it's too late. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the tawfiq, the opportunity of participating in that wonderful, most uplifting walk towards Karbala in the ceremony of Arba'een in this dunya, and may we receive their shafa'ah in al-akhirah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. Let's stand.